This is a lay your head back reminder. Because there's really not much to look at. And, the Poltergeist Curse for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. Dominic Dunn's murder is often cited as the first death in the so-called Poltergeist Curse. Violent or mysterious deaths associated with the film series. Dunn portrayed Dana Freeling in the first film 6 years after her murder on February 1st, 1988. Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann Freeling in all three films, died of a misdiagnosed acute bowel obstruction at age 12. On top of these tragic, unexpected deaths are two not-so-mysterious deaths. 60-year-old Julian Beck, who plays evil spirit Kane in Poltergeist 2, died of stomach cancer 7 months before the film's release. And Will Sampson, who plays Good Spirit Taylor in the same film, died after a heart-lung transplant about a year after the film was released. More coincidence than curse, but eerie nonetheless. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm stamping that. We know we read it. Or you know what? I'll just wait till the end and stamp them all at the end. Next up, for Friday, September 17th, 2021, we have unidentified murder victim, chimney cross-dresser. Sex, male. Race, ethnicity, white. Age, 18 to 35 years. Clothing. Sleeveless paisley dress with a matching belt. Long sleeve, button-down shirt, medium size, shaggy pile sweater, low-heeled, pointed shoes. Wearing one pair of socks and carrying another pair. German Iron Cross medallion and no underwear. Brown hair color. Remains of a man dressed in women's clothing were found in the chimney of Good and Loud Music Store on University Avenue in Madison, Wisconsin on September 3rd, 1989. His pelvis was broken, likely the result of being stuffed into the chimney, and it was estimated that he had been there for 2 months to 2 years. Oh my goodness. In addition to his clothing, he had a butter knife and a pocket comb in his possession. In 2012, a woman came forward suggesting he may have been a page in the state legislature sometime between 1977 and 1985 based on the reconstruction of his face. I don't get it, but I always chuckle at any chimney story, but this one sounds like, are they saying it was foul play? That's terrible. Next up, from Saturday, September 18th, we have You're in a Cult, Call Your Dad. 2007 for murder, and then later reduced to voluntary manslaughter and apprehended the same day that she was added to the list. Brenda Delgado, added in 2016 for hiring a contract killer, apprehended 2 days later. Next up, Shanika Minor, added in 2016 for murdering a pregnant woman, apprehended 3 days later. Next up, we have an unlikely love story from Tuesday, September 21st. Stories of victims falling in love with their rescuers are often heartwarming, but when a victim falls in love with his or her attacker, it's a little harder to swallow. That's exactly what happened with Bert and Linda Puget, P-U-G-A-C-H. I know I made a mess of that one. In 1959, Bert began dating Linda until Linda found out about Bert's wife and daughter and broke things off. Bert threatened her repeatedly, but the New York Police Department brushed off Linda's reports. Upon hearing of her engagement to another man, Bert hired 3 men to assault her. He maintains that he just wanted them to beat her up, but they threw lye in her face, disfiguring and partially blinding her. Bert was sentenced to 14 years in prison, during which time he continued to write to Linda, and they resumed their relationship. When Bert was released and the two married in 1974, they remained married until Linda's death in 2013, even throughout Bert's 1997 trial for threatening a woman that he was having an affair with. Linda served as a character witness for Bert in that trial. A 2007 documentary, Crazy Love, documents their unbelievable story. I should see if I can find that movie. Next up, from September 22nd, Wednesday, we have the Morris worm. On November 2nd, 1988, just months before the World Wide Web launched, the first cyberworm was released from a computer at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Within 24 hours, 10% of the 60,000 computers that were connected to the internet at that time were affected. The internet was grinded to a halt at Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, NASA, the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and many other institutions. Shortly after the attack, a programmer contacted friends saying he had launched the worm and was unable to control it. He asked one friend to send out a plea for help along with an apology. Ironically, most of those who could help had already been knocked offline by the worm. Talking to another of the friends, the New York Times discovered the programmer was Robert Tappan Morris, and Morris became the first person to be convicted under the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. He received a fine, probation, and 400 hours of community service, but no jail time. Interesting. Next up, for Thursday, September 23rd, we have forensic facts hair analysis debunked. Hair analysis, the science of comparing hair samples under a microscope to determine if they match, was originally popularized by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes series. By the 1950s, it was accepted as legitimate forensic science. However, doubts about its accuracy began to surface in the 70s. In 1984, the FBI reported that it couldn't positively match one person through hair analysis. When the rise of DNA profiling in the 90s, with the rise of DNA profiling in the 90s, the FBI began to review cases in which hair analysis had been used. A study of cases between 96 and 2000 found that 11% of the hair analysis cases were contradicted by DNA evidence. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. After an outcry from defense attorneys angry at the use of faulty science to convict their clients, the FBI conducted further studies, including a review of 21,000 more cases in July of 2013. By 2015, they had found 32 death penalty cases where FBI experts had overstated the reliability of hair analysis, and 14 of those defendants had been executed or had died in prison. A separate study by the Department of Justice reviewed 268 trials and found that experts had exaggerated the accuracy of hair analysis in 257 of the cases, 90%. 95% of the total. Oh my goodness. Next up. For Thursday, September 24th, we have imprisoned by hair analysis forensic facts. These prisoners were convicted largely based on their hair analysis and later exonerated. Oh my goodness. Shante Tribble, released after serving 28 years for the 1978 murder of John McCormick. Tribble had an alibi with 4 witnesses, but investigators said a stalking mask nearby contained 13 hairs that all matched Tribble. A 2012 DNA profile disproved this and found that one of the hairs belonged to a dog. Next up, Kirk Odom, convicted of the 1981 rape and robbing of a woman in Washington, D.C., in part because Special Agent Myron T. Schulberg testified that hairs found on the woman's nightgown were indistinguishable from Odom's. Odom served 20 years before DNA analysis proved the hairs could not be his. Next up, Donald E. Gates served 28 years for rape and murder before he was exonerated by DNA testing in 2009. Gates' hair analysis was done by prominent hair analyst Michael Malone, whose 6,000 cases had been investigated and found flawed in 1997. Oh, that is terrible. For Saturday, September 25th, and Sunday, September 26th, we have organized crime constitutes nothing less than a guerrilla war against society. Lyndon B. Johnson. a psychiatric evaluation. 2 weeks later, police were called when Hartman caused a disturbance after boarding a flight at O'Hare's headed for New York. She had a ticket this time, but was arrested again for criminal trespassing and violating a bail bond. Oh my goodness. Next up, true crime superstars Jigsaw John. John P. St. John got his nickname Jigsaw John early in his 51-year tenure as an LAPD homicide detective after solving a case in which the victim had been dismembered. The nickname stuck after colleagues noticed his knack for piecing clues together in especially difficult cases. He solved more than 2/3 of the 1,000 cases that he worked on, and his case history reads like a who's who of the golden age of serial killers: the Black Dahlia Killer, Harvey Clapman, the Lonely Hearts Killer, Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, the Hillside Stranglers, a Grim Sleep. Another of his legendary cases was William Bonnet, the Freeway Killer. Following a tip, John and his team tracked down the predatory truck driver and caught him in the act of assaulting a victim. His murder kit was nearby, and Bonnet received the death penalty and was executed in 1996. John's legendary career was turned into a book and a 1976 TV series, Jigsaw John. He retired from the LAPD in 1993 and died in 1995. I never heard of that TV show. Maybe we need to look it up. Jigsaw John. Next up, for Wednesday, September 29th, the Wichita Falls Walmarts. There must have been something in the water at the Walmarts in Wichita Falls, Texas in 2019. In January, police responded to a report of a suspicious person in the parking lot of a Walmart in the small city. The woman had been drinking wine from a Pringles can and riding an electric cart around the parking lot for 3 hours. By the time the police had arrived at 9 a.m., they found her at a nearby restaurant and told her not to return to the store. In July of that year, police banned another woman from a different Wichita Walmart after an argument with employees over a half-eaten cake. According to employees, the woman had eaten half the cake herself and then refused to pay full price for it, insisting